What's going on, guys? This is the Brigade once again, and we're back at it for another session of Killzone Shadowfall. Alright guys, this time around I just wanted to go ahead and showcase yet another multiplayer map. So this time we are in the park. Right, and as with many other Killzone multiplayer maps, this one is simply stunning, both the interior and exterior. Now, I know a lot of you guys like to listen to my commentary, and when you're listening to the commentary, in most cases you're just kind of listening, but you're not necessarily watching. But I have a piece of advice for some of you guys. You know, not only with this video, but with a lot of other ones, and this is especially for a lot of you guys that have experience with the game. Please pay attention to the footage, right? Because in addition to doing my talks and commentaries, I try to at least showcase some of the more entertaining uploads. Now, keep in mind, I actually have a lot of good footage. I have a crap ton of good footage because I've been pretty much playing consistently ever since the release of the PS4 and Killzone Shadowfall. And ever since then, you know, and actually when I first started off, I was kind of sucking a little bit. You know, I'm trying to feel my way around, trying to figure out the new maps because, you know, when you kind of dive head in first into a multiplayer game and you're not familiar with the maps, you know, and you have to learn the weapons and all that and the properties, it can be a bit difficult. Right? So after, let's just say, the first few days, I was kind of having a hard time. But now that I'm a lot more familiar with the maps, I'm a lot more familiar with some of the routes, some of the entryways, some of the exit points, I am pretty much good to go. Right, so just go ahead and check out the footage. Now, unfortunately, even though I had a good time as an individual, my team was not successful. Right? And one thing about me, you know, I don't necessarily pride myself after being a good individual. Now, if this were team deathmatch, then yeah, I would pride myself after being a good individual. But this is not team deathmatch. I love the war zones. War zones forces you to attack objectives, at least for those who like objectives. Now, there's a lot of people who try to play the war zones in the same way that they would play team deathmatch. But you cannot do that, right? And you know, I just wish a lot of these guys understood the difference. But I mean, hey, be that as it may, people have their own preferences. Me, I never participate in team deathmatch. Now, granted, whenever team deathmatch is one of the missions in a war zone, yes, I'll play it. But what I'm saying is, they also have an option to go purely team deathmatch. I never visit those lobbies, never. You'll always be able to catch the brigade in a war zone. 9 times out of 10 in a 12v12 war zone, but worst case scenario in one of the 7v7 war zones. Right, because I think I've been kind of playing this game long enough and I'm pretty familiar enough to be comfortable with a lot more action than what the 7v7s can offer. Alright, so one thing that I want to talk about in particular, you know, some guys have accused me of using a noob weapon. Right? You know, they say, you know what, Brigade, we've watched your videos, you're kind of cool and all of that, but dude, you use a noob weapon, 100% noob. So I figured that I would just take a few minutes to go ahead and talk about that. First off, the sickle is not, and actually when they say that, I think what they mean is the fact that you can get a one-shot kill when at close range. Now keep in mind, that makes a lot of difference with regard to the number of kills that I get and the amount of success that I'm able to earn. I get outranged all the time. You guys would notice this in the uploads. I always get outranged, especially by a lot of those assault guys. Number 2, I have a very slow rate of fire. The rate of fire with this shotgun is almost similar to the rate of fire with the shotgun in Killzone 2 and Killzone 3. And it's not necessarily the best. And if you miss, you are 100% vulnerable. And in a lot of cases, you know, unless your opponent just have, let's just say, not the best aiming, you're going to be screwed. You're definitely going to be screwed. So one disadvantage that I have, which is a major disadvantage, is the fact that is the fact that I can't outrange anyone. My weapon is only good for close quarters. At a longer distance, I mean, either I have to try to hide around the environment, right? Maybe run around a corner, maybe retreat, right? And hopefully if they chase me, I can turn around and give them, some pellets to the face. But other than that, I'm pretty much screwed. Now, another thing, you guys would notice that, if you're already not familiar with Killzone, there's no aim assist. So with there not being any aim assist, if I miss, because my rate of fire is a lot slower than what a lot of the assault weapons are, I'm also screwed. Right? So yeah, the properties of the shotgun, I have some advantages, but I also have a lot of disadvantages. And if you just really want to be technical, I'm willing to say a lot of the assault weapons are noob weapons. Right? And the reason why I say that is because they have relatively low recoil. In addition to having relatively low recoil, they have a very high rate of fire. Right? So low recoil, high rate of fire, you're pretty much good to go. There's been so many situations wherein I've seen just one or two assault guys just come out and take out like 5 other guys, right? Because granted, you have to be a good shooter and good at your aim to be able to do this, but still, it also is a testament to how well a lot of the assault weapons are. So, just to go ahead and stay away from that, listen, I am not going to get into this thing about what's a noob weapon and what is not. Right? I'm definitely not going to get into that. This is a multiplayer shooter. There are plenty of weapons. They have different types of properties. It's up to you to pick and choose whatever your favorite is. Because in other words, I'm pretty sure there's some guys who use, let's just say, the scout class, and they have their preferred weapons. Or let's just say there's some assault guys and they have their preferred weapons. And we can all sit here, gripe and complain and say, oh, you're only successful because that's a noob weapon. We can do that all day long, but at the end of the day, dude, it's a game. Let people enjoy it. Alright, so enough about the shotgun being a noob weapon. Alright, so the mission that we're currently in is search and destroy attack. So basically we are on the offensive, and it looks like the objective that I'm trying to at least defend. Right, and when I say defend, I don't want them to be able to disable this, because I already armed it, or it was already armed by the team, and I don't want it to be disabled. So at least we really have to arm it for now. Now, one of my biggest gripes with a lot of those guys that play this game like Team Deathmatch. Now, it appears as though it's getting a little better, seeing that I have at least 2 other guys with me. There's a lot of guys that just simply do not chase after the objectives. In other words, in a 12 versus 12, I do not understand why 6 people can't take over one objective and 6 people can't, take over a second objective. Because in most cases, whenever there are 3 objectives, you only need 2/3 to win. Right? So as long as you can maintain 2/3, you're good to go. You don't have to go ahead, be John Rambo, and try to tackle all 3. And like I said before, that's probably some of the tactics that I'm going to talk about more so when it comes to the clans. We're not at the point of having clans and squads yet, so I won't really talk too much about that. But what I'm saying is, it is very important for the overall team success for you guys to go ahead and, yes, you want to make getting kills a priority, but to attack the objectives, because the more you attack the objectives, that's more success for everybody else. Alright, now we are in the underbelly of the penthouse. Alright, and we're getting reckless with the knife right here. Alright, we got 2 of them, we're good to go. And if you guys notice, I'm not going to immediately shoot him because they have a neck snap. They have a small window of invincibility as soon as they spawn from the spawn beacon. So for a lot of you guys that, you just kind of like to spawn camp, or let's just say you're all by yourself, just like I was all by myself. Guess what? In a lot of cases, when they first spawn in, they're kind of disoriented. They don't really know where they are. They're trying to find their way. Right? And you don't really want to give them an idea as to where you are when they first spawn by trying to shoot them. Give it a second or 2 if you can help it, and try to melee them. Actually, trying to melee them is a lot better than trying to shoot them, because like I said, they have a small window of invincibility when they first spawn. Right, so enough about that. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about, there's some guys who have been sending me friend requests, right? And I don't know if they're sending me friend requests because of Dark Souls, or I don't know if they're sending me friend requests because they want to go ahead and partner up and and enjoy some Shadowfall multiplayer. So here's a little piece of advice for a lot of you guys who want to go ahead and partner up for the Shadowfall. Please send a message along with your friend request, because if I do not know you, I'm not going to just blindly accept friend requests. I already have a lot of friends, and most of the people on my friend list, I know them, and most of the people that I know, we communicate, right? So in other words, let's just say we're friends for the purposes of, let's just say, Dark Souls, right? Many of the people who are on my friends list, when I'm playing Dark Souls, they're like, hey man, let's partner up, let's get some duels in. Or let's just say some of the friends that I have on my list for Killzone Shadowfall, most of them, whenever we're both on, they're like, hey dude, what you're doing, you want to party up? If not, I'll catch you next time. But at least we're communicating. Some people just want to be friends just for the sake of being friends. I don't necessarily do that. Now, like I said before, I'm cool 100% if you guys want to partner up for Shadowfall, but just leave me a message, right? Because if you just send me a friend invite and I don't know who you are or why you're asking to be friends, more than likely I'll go ahead and ignore that invitation. Alright, so now that we've covered that, another thing I kind of want to talk about is, let's just talk about the Scout class briefly. I really do not know what the purpose of the Scout class is in Shadowfall. Right? The way I see it, it really, that particular class just simply does not help out a team. And I know some of you guys that love the Scout class, you're probably going to, start finger jamming that keyboard, but at least hear me out. Now, the Scout classes and Killzones 2 and 3, they were pretty much awesome, especially in Killzone 3. Not only were you able to use the sniper rifle, but you also had the ability to use one assault rifle, right? And then you had a machine gun pistol that basically had a silencer on it. So you were good to go. Number 2, you had the ability to be able to turn off your opponent's their radar when within a certain radius. On top of that, you had the ability to walk around like in a cloak, right? Now, for a lot of those guys who were good with the quick scoping, the Scout class was awesome. But even if you weren't good with the quick scoping, the fact that you had one assault rifle basically didn't limit you to only sniper rifles, right? So you could actively participate in a lot of the objectives in Killzone 3. Killzone Shadowfall is a little different. With the amount of experimenting that I've been doing with it, and maybe my opinion will change once I dedicate a lot more time to the Scout class, but from what I can tell and from what I have observed by watching a lot of my teammates who seem to love that ridiculous Scout class, all they do is sit back in the background and snipe people. Now, I know someone might argue with, dude, that's what they're supposed to do, that they're a sniper. Yeah, I'm good with the fact that they're a sniper, but what I'm saying is, how did they actually benefit? Right? Because in other words, let's just say you want to make the argument of, well, scouts, they're supposed to lead the pack, they're supposed to get out front, and then, with their scanning abilities, they kind of let you know what the battlefield looks like. Actually, you don't need you don't need a Scout class for that. You can just have a good squad of assault classes to do that. As a matter of fact, let's just say you had a team of, let's just say 8 assault class members. You could dedicate 4 of those to say, hey, listen, 4 of you guys, you need to stay with, let's just say, ability A or ability B. And you guys are going to be the first ones out there. Right after you guys go out there and, race toward the objective, we're going to have some of the support class following behind you. And they're going to go ahead, drop a spawn beacon, ground support turrets or air support turrets, and maybe even in extreme cases, some supply crates. Alright, so I can kind of see where the Scout class and the Assault class would be a benefit to the team. But the Scout class, as a matter of fact, not only can I see that they're a benefit of the team, but not only do they help the team, but they can help themselves because they are actively participating in the objectives. Now, let's just say, okay, case in point, this is capture and connect, right? So let's just say you're playing the role as a Scout, and you're using your little high-speed sniper rifle. Now they do have other abilities, and I'm going to get a lot more in detail with regard to their abilities in my Killzone Shadowfall multiplayer for noob series. But for now, we're still kind of dabbling with the support class, and we have one more ability to, with the support class, then we have one more ability until we're done with that class, and we'll move on to assault. But, I can see how they can benefit themselves. Like, you get shots off into the distance. You may kind of cloak behind someone and hit them with a brutal melee. But they can't necessarily reap all the same benefits. Case in point, this particular mission. It is very rare that you see someone on the scout class out there on the front lines with you. Usually they are off into the distance. And though they may get 500 points for your team winning, they're not really maximizing the amount of points that they could get if they were an active participant. Like for example, let's just say you are able to capture a lot of those points in the capture and connect. Well, guess what? You can get like 900 points. Right? And that's just each connection. And if you are able to satisfy that last point, in a lot of cases you can get I think the most points I've ever gotten was 1,600 points. 1,600 points versus 500 just your team winning. Right? So, the way I see it, the assault class are the muscle. They have good weapons, relatively low recoil, and a high rate of fire. Then you have the support class, which I would consider them to be the brains, right? Because you definitely have to be a little more strategic and tactical when you're thinking about the placement of the spawn beacons, the air support and ground support drones, and maybe even the supply crates. You definitely have to be a little tactical when it comes to those. So I consider the support class to be the brains. Now, someone might argue, like, dude, they're scouts, so they're supposed to be the eyes. Well, not really. Because the muscle, those guys with those assault weapons, they can go right there, out there, in the front lines, and they can, raise as much hell as they want to, and they would be good for the team. Scout class, they can't really do anything because, with their sniper rifles, they have a lower rate of fire. Unless you're very good at quick scoping, which I'm willing to say the average person is not, you're going to be pretty much screwed if you get into a gunfight with, let's just say, a support class member or an assault class member, because your weapon just doesn't have the same properties as those classes do. Now, like I said before, I'm going to be diving into the abilities of the scout class a little later, and maybe my opinion may change. So I don't want to hear anyone saying, dude, you're not even giving it a chance. I don't want to hear anybody say that, because I'm telling you guys in advance that with the little dabblings that I have, that I've done with the scout class, I really don't see how they really benefit the team. So once again, maybe we'll find out a little later in the next upcoming videos when I start to feature the scout class. But until then, I don't know, you guys who love the scout class so much, go ahead and leave me a comment. And you know what, for a lot of you guys that have not even played Shadowfall, don't leave me a comment trying to give me a tactical explanation of what a scout in the military would do. We're not talking military, we're talking a shooter. Right? So I don't want to hear anything about what the key roles of a scout member in the infantry team. Dude, I was in the military. I don't want to hear it. This is not the military. This is Killzone. So, I want your comments to be relative to this game and relative to your experience, not relative to what you think should happen. All right, and I'll be looking out for those comments because I'm pretty interested in seeing what you guys have to say about that. Alright, so we are coming up pretty much on the ending of this particular video. And actually, I think this is the last objective. This is the beacon theft. And actually, I think this time, I'm able to touch down with about 2 or 3 beacons. I can't really remember. Alright, got a good neck ripping for that guy. This game is awesome, dude. This game is 100% awesome. And I really hope Sony can go ahead and push out their units, because from what I've heard, there's still a lot of pre-orders that have yet to be filled, in addition to the shelf demands, right? So, based upon the reports that I've read, they've sold around 2.1 million yet so far, and I can only imagine how many more units they will sell once they are able to stock these shelves with more consoles. Alright guys, well this is pretty much it. You guys can go ahead and watch the end of this particular mission. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, Martyrs Brigade is out.
Ceasefire. The Hellgast won. The enemy may have won the battle, but the war is not lost.